Hi, everybody. I'm just making sure that everything is working. Yep. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm just making sure. Okay, so hi, everybody. This is day 1610 days since Richard was premeditatedly murdered. It was a brutal murder. They dismembered him um, because they had to try very, very hard to cover up their crime. And because this involves law enforcement, uh, you know, um, absolutely, clearly, CID Tavita Nusa is a prime suspect. Lalani Hart is a prime suspect. Richard's platoon leader, Dallas Hart, is a prime suspect. They are absolutely embedded in the law enforcement community. Um, Embedded is probably not the right word. I think infiltrated in it, infiltrated. They weren't stopped. They weren't stopped a long time ago, and they've maybe embedded themselves in the system. And so, they absolutely know how investigations work. And then they did this crime, and it was brutal. It was very brutal. And why did they do it? Because Richard tore down their I would call it the El Paso cartel. The El Paso cartel. He threatened uh their trafficking network there in El Paso, uh, crossing over to the border into Juarez, and also, with the shipping, all the shipping containers, the tactical move storage unit. That's what the military calls these shipping containers. He threatened because he stood up to it. He stood up and he called it out. And of course, he wanted to be CID himself, so he reported it. He absolutely reported what was going on, and he feared for his life afterwards. We know that for a fact, that he feared for his life. So a lot of things that we have gone back to relook at and everything. It has a lot of value to keep all your information. There's a lot of value for your text messages and posts and letters. And, Richard loved to write letters, right? He wrote the letter to his Omi and Opie there from basic training. So, letters are worth a lot. Letters are worth a lot, y'all. Do not forget to even write like your Christmas cards, right? Write some letters. Make sure you're writing letters, not just text messages, not just emails. Put a stamp on it, send it, put it in hard copy right away. Your thoughts and your feelings and what's happening, because they're worth a lot. They're worth a lot. So, so here we are at 1,610 days. And, you know, uh, it's just amazing. I was listening to the AmFest. Hi, Anicia. Thank you for coming on the AmFest parts of it. And there was like this real theme, the theme, and then President Trump even posted something on his truth about how Christianity is coming back. Christianity is coming back. And the theme of the AmFest was Christianity, and what a wonderful thing, what a absolutely wonderful thing, because for decades now, I believe that, and I saw it with my own eyes in the military, and in Germany, I saw it with my own eyes, that there was tolerance for all other faiths, which is, we have freedom of religion, right? But when it came to Christianity, there wasn't the tolerance. There wasn't the tolerance. And today, something horrible happened. In Germany, and we lived there for 20 years. In Germany, during this time of year, during Advent, they have their uh, Weihnachtsmarkt, right? Their Christmarkt. And it's a time when, um, i- and I'm going to explain this because it's really in the news. Um, these little booths, which comes really from the Old Testament Feast of Booths, okay, the Feast of Booths. Um, these booths are clubs. They, for the most part, and historically, uh, clubs, any kind of club, being it a bird watching club, being a dance club, being a musical, let's say they want to play a drums, a club, knitting club, carving clubs, um, flower arrangement clubs, whatever club, um, quilting club, any of these, they work all year on their hobbies and then their clubs and everything like that. And some of them, like a music club, they wouldn't produce anything, right? So they might have a glühwein stand, which is like a malt wine stand, right? They might offer something like that. They might do a potato poofers, Kartoffelpoofers. They're delicious with like some salmon or sour cream or something like this. They'll sell those, or Dampfnudel. That's something we don't have here. Dampfnudel is a yeast roll that is not baked in an oven but steamed. And and they'll offer, so they'll offer these food booths, and then the some clubs, maybe candle making club with beeswax or whatever, they'll have these beautiful candles that they sell. They'll have, all their arts and crafts, and they do amazing work. And they depend on the Chris marked, people shopping for gifts for Christmas, um, to fund their clubs. It's a it's a huge deal in Germany. And so every town, just about every town, that has any kind of population will have a Chris Mart because it funds their clubs. And it's even sport clubs too, because you know, in the United States, our sport clubs are part of our schools, right? And a lot of our clubs are part of our schools, and they get funding from, our education funds. But that's not how it is in Germany. These sport clubs, even like soccer, tennis, swimming, whatever, they have to, earn their money for their clubs. And so this Feast of Booths, Advent time, it's very serious, and it is so traditional, and it's such a beautiful time because they put up lights and their decorations, and it's just wonderful. And we would go and have some glühwein, Dampfnudel, Kartoffelpufers, uh, you know, gingerbread. Gingerbread. Just, and it depends on where in Germany. The different areas have different, excuse me, famous things. And this Chris Mart that's in the news right now is in Magdeburg, and Magdeburg is a Luther stronghold. Okay, Magdeburg is in Saxony, um, which was former Eastern Germany. Okay, former Eastern controlled Germany, and which was Saxony is um, very was a huge part of the Reformation. Okay, because that's Lutherland, right? That's Lutherland. Martin Luther. I'm not talking about Martin Luther Jr. I'm talking about Martin Luther of the Reformation that wrote, my favorite thing that he ever wrote. I think the best thing that ever came from his hand, his pen, was Bondage of the Will. His debate with Erasmus. If you've never read it, you should read it. It's a small little book. It's an exciting little book. It's called Bondage of the Will by Martin Luther, and you can find some good. I have it up there. I don't know who translated it, but it's this debate with Erasmus, and it's just an amazing little book, and it changes the way you think. Uh, in a certain when it comes to free will, when it comes to the will of God, and it's just an amazing area in Germany, Magdeburg. Um, I've been on that tour 3 times, Lutherland. I have a beautiful painting in my home um, of the castle where Martin Luther wrote or translated the New Testament into Hochdeutsch, which is German today, the formal German today, and that was a really really big deal because Germany had Kurfürsten, like I guess like little counties, but they're not counties, or they would be like principalities. I guess that would be the best translation, like a principality. And each of these little principalities, they would have their own dialect. And in Germany, you could travel around, and it's very, very difficult to learn German because you go to these different areas and they have very different dialects. Um, and so, what Martin Luther did by creating Hochdeutsch was give Germany a common language, because you know, just for an example, and I'm getting to the point on how all this relates to Richard, because Richard knew all this. He was raised there. He was raised in Heidelberg. He was raised in near Kaiserslautern. He knew German. He knew all this, and I'm going to get to the point with what happened with this in during this Christmas market, and you know, but just to give you an example of the different languages, my grandmother for slippers, being on the border of France, would say Schlappe, Schlappe, right? That would be slippers. You go into Heidelberg and it would be called Hausschuh. Schlappe and Hausschuh sound very different. But then you'd get into Saxony, and in Saxony, where Magdeburg is, you would call them Pantoffeln. So you have Pantoffeln, Hausschuh, Schlappe. Very different words. So what I'm saying there is a language. When I say there was a dialect, it's not kind of like New England compared to Texas, right? It's more like the United States compared to Ireland, I guess, or Wales, maybe Scotland. You have it's very different, the languages. And so for what Martin Luther did to create this single German language, Hochdeutsch for Germany, um, was just absolutely changed everything. It was huge. And he did it while he was in a hiding out in a castle because they were coming after him. He was a whistleblower. He was a whistleblower, and they wanted him dead. They wanted him dead because he was a whistleblower. He was a whistleblower for the corruption, um, and they wanted him dead. And he was hiding out as an alias in Wittenberg, Um, Beautiful place. If you've never been there, it's just amazing. The whole tour, that whole countryside of Saxony is so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. And Magdeburg is so beautiful. Ein fester Burg ist unser Gott. A mighty fortress is our God. Uh, you just have it's on a tower, on a huge tower. Anyway, so this area is very significant. Magdeburg is very significant because it is a stronghold of reformation, fighting against corruption. Okay, that area is it's a symbol of fighting against corruption. It's kind of like, Trump owns Robert the Bruce's home. It's a it's he turned it into a golf course hotel, um, and the the name of it escapes me for right now, but it's where the place where Robert the Bruce is said to have been born. It's a very symbolic place, very symbolic, and what he did was absolutely amazing there. And it'll come to me the name, but Robert the Bruce is a symbol. He is like the Spider-Man. He is the symbol of fighting against corruption, right? Fighting, overcoming his naivety. I hope I'm saying that right. Being so naive, right? Being so naive and trusting, and then realizing being betrayed by betraying his friend, um, of course, and then having to escape and run and hide because they wanted to kill him. And, because, and then watching that spider and saying, no, I can't hide. I have to go and I have to fight. I have to try. Um, and so Robert the Bruce is, to me, the original Spider Man, right? He is the symbol of fighting against corruption after realizing, because he's the one that betrayed William Wallace because he was trusting in this secret. Well, secret deals were being made behind his deal that would kill William Wallace, and William Wallace was brutally killed. So, and Richard knew all this. Richard Richard went on the tour with us in this area. Um, and he's not going to stand, you know, silence in the face of Fort Bliss trafficking, criminal trafficking, right? He's not going to stand and just after all of these unbelievable examples, right? And you don't have to agree with everything that Luther did in the Reformation. You don't have to agree with everything that Robert the Bruce did. You don't have to, but these were men that stood on their principle, right? On their principle. They had principle, they had character. And Richard absolutely had these examples in his life, and he had, of course, his father, his grandfather, his grandfathers, all these beautiful men in his life, um, to show him how you stand for your principles. And so, of course, he stood against the trafficking there. Of course he did. And of course he was an official whistleblower. And we know that now. And, something really remarkable has happened. It's like you've got this new awakening or new call to stand up for Christianity, which is standing up for these principles of law, because you have the Ten Commandments, right? The Ten Commandments, and then the two commandments that summarize the Ten Commandments. You have the sacraments. You have, um, you know, the care for creation and all of that. So you have all that, and you have this recognition that they're standing up now to the corruption, to the lawlessness, to the trafficking, to the infiltration of the government and everything. And this is happening not just in El Paso, but it's happening in Germany. And you see that the falling of these governments in Germany just had a no confidence vote. They just had a falling of their government. They have a real attack on the Alternative for Deutschland, which is I guess, the MAGA party. Um, and, so this attack in Magdeburg, this brutal attack, and it's just, how can you get in your car, and you have to realize that these Christmas markets are supported by the families of those that are running the booths because they're trying to make money. It's kind of like supporting Girl Scout cookies, right? It's Girl Scout cookies on steroids, because Girl Scout cookies, you have one stand. It's kind of like, right, the Walmart mass shooting case. The entrance, oh, the one man that was shot outside of the Walmart. What was he doing there? He was um, selling some things to earn some money for his child's hobby, right? That's what he was doing. That's what he was sitting at that table. And it's like Girl Scout cookies. We're going to sell Girl Scout cookies to support our children. So that crowd was family members. They're not just tourists. Uh, no way. That just makes it a little. They're not just shoppers. They are family members of those that are running the booths, those that are trying to earn money for their hobbies and for their clubs, for their clubs, for their culture. And for a car to drive through them to kill them is killing their culture, is killing their loved ones, right in front of their family members, right in front of their club goers, right? We're all trumpet players. We have um this booth so we can go play trumpets in different areas, during the year, and we're trying to earn some money, and that is their big earning time, is these Christmas markets. And they watch their family and friends are trying to support them, even some people in the club that might have, not had duty at that time to watch the booth, be run over. It is such an assault. It is such an assault. And it's done by what, a Saudi Arabian? But who is that Saudi Arabian working for? Because let me tell you, with Richard's case, you automatically know, you automatically suspect that there is a political aim here. This is a political attack. This is absolutely, they knew that this would make worldwide news coverage. My goodness, they released the video of the disaster that, all over the place, all over the place. This is absolutely a psyop, a message against, you know, a Christmas market, a a culture, families. It's just terrible. It's terrible. So please say prayers for those that live in Magdeburg, those that were there, the other people to have courage to continue their Christmas markets, to for the they've had every year they seem to have something like this. And I don't know why they don't put out up some really heavy duty boundaries with those plastic things. I don't know. um it is. And we know with Richard's case and his murder case that even with the canine and the other El Paso cop, that is Carzoli, um, which seems to have a real connection to New York, that I've labeled them the El Paso cartel. That's I've laid I don't know if they're officially labeled the El Paso cartel, but they're El Paso cartel. And to find out what we did yesterday, and this is the thing, with God with you, who can be against you, right? They they try to think that they can get away with it. They think that they have the power to cover and to tamper, to intentionally interfere. And and the three big ones are Judge Sam Medrano, Joe Spencer, and now John Briggs, right? It just, we have hard evidence. um with all of their tampering, we still have hard evidence. With all of their destruction of their trying to cover their tracks, and the hard evidence, it's I don't want to say it's humorous, but you have to smile because God is just holds them in derision, right? You know that verse where God just holds them in derision. They they themselves give you the provide they themselves provide the hard evidence of their criminal activities to you, to us, right? It was Lalani Hart that provided her confession of the worst type of crimes. It was Joe Spencer that provided the audio to his own words. It's Judge Medrano bringing in the media to film the witness of his criminal activity, allowing Patrick Crucius to be led, or his civil rights so violated, and to display Joe Spencer's absolute criminality in the court, and um film Loretta Lynn Hewitt, just exposing them totally. I mean, they themselves provide the evidence that implicates them, that absolutely, uh, you know, will destroy them, will destroy their careers, absolutely, and will land them in prison. Will land them in prison, and they don't have to blame Richard. They don't have to blame the Gold Star family of Richard Halliday. They don't have to blame Team Find Richard Halliday. They just have to look in the mirror. And now we have hard evidence with John Briggs absolutely confirming that he was intentionally interfering with the case, that he was insubordinate, that he would not take calls from detectives about the Walmart mass shooting case. I wonder what other case he didn't take detective questions about or FBI questions about, or he didn't show up for meetings. He didn't do the simplest. We have the absolute documented hard evidence that John Briggs did not do the simplest task to move the Walmart mass shooting forward. That he was so insubordinate and not just with the Walmart case, okay? But this, I want to focus just on the Walmart case because that's Richard's case, right? But he was fired. He was fired, and they were having deals behind DA Yvonne Rosales' back. They were having secret meetings behind, with Sam Medrano, behind District Attorney Yvonne Rosales, the duly elected district attorney's back. We have hard evidence that after being fired, removed from the case, John Briggs impersonated the attorney on the case. He's an impersonator. So criminal. And this happened for weeks, right? And just like Jaime Esparza, his sister was at the Walmart mass shooting, right? And so it was personal to him, and he said it was personal to him, and it's on audio. We have audio of Joe Spencer saying it was personal, but they meaning Sam Medrano and Joe Spencer and John Briggs allowed, because John Briggs, he was working under Jaime Esparza at the time. He didn't say, "Hey, boss, you have a conflict of interest. Your sister was at the Walmart mass shooting. You cannot be the prosecutor because you said it was personal to you." I mean, the level of criminality that they have displayed in them giving us the evidence. Can you imagine what we don't know still, what they've done? I mean, we have this huge, huge chip. I'm thinking about an iceberg, and you have the tip of the iceberg, but we have a big mountain part of the iceberg, and there's still stuff that, is underneath there. But we have enough. We have enough that absolutely confirm that they were intentionally not doing meetings, intentionally delaying the Walmart mass shooting, not doing their jobs, and though requesting and Judge Medrano approving an open checkbook for the state and federal, that the taxpayers have to pay millions and millions of dollars so that he knowingly can be working with this criminal group to, can I call them the El Paso cartel? Can I call them? I don't know if they're involved in the trafficking. I don't know if they're involved in the trafficking. I know, well, are they involved in the trafficking by covering Richard's case up? Is that them protecting the trafficking? Um, is that them being involved in the trafficking? Would that connect them, implicate them with the trafficking? Because we absolutely know that they were there. Judge Medrano, Joe Spencer, and John Briggs to delay these cases, specifically the Walmart mass shooting case, to absolutely delay it so that it would not move forward, and that, having an open checkbook, they could just rake in the money. They can rake in the money, go have their parties. They don't have to do any of the work. They don't even have to take calls from the detectives. They don't have to take calls from their supervisor. They don't have to even, you know, Loretta Lynn Hewitt pointed it out, right? She goes, they wouldn't take my calls. They're not coming to my meetings. They're not, this is all political, that this case is political, and I'm not going to have any part of it. I am going to put in my resignation and protest. I am protesting this. This is my resignation. And and she absolutely testified not too long ago, recently, that the circumstances of Patrick Crucius's autism, that it wasn't just a minor part of the spectrum, that he was self-harming, that he was in special ed, that, and this means a lot. It means a lot to me because it means that he doesn't have the fine motor coordination, the concentration ability to pull off a lone shooter. This is one more bit of evidence, a very good evidence. How do you change the clips? How do you handle the noise? How do you handle the smells? How do you handle just the whole orchestration of that as a lone shooter and a manifesto and uploading and everything like that? When you have a severe mental health condition that affects your physical ability to do things, it just doesn't happen. It just, the narrative is all wrong. And to even have the time to be racist, to be, to, and then he admits that he's not racist. And at the beginning of all of this, 5 years ago, when he came into the court and he's in his suit and he's shaking his head, no, looking with puppy eyes, I got the pictures, looking at, when they're telling him off. He's like, no, I'm not a racist, I'm not a race. He told that to Joe Spencer. And then now, 5 years later, what have they done to him? It looks like he's starving. He looks very raggedy. His eyes are empty. He doesn't have the puppy dog eyes anymore. He has cold eyes. I don't know if they have him on drugs. I would assume that, I don't know, being autistic, having a severe mental health, being in isolation. And then they put the orange suit on him. Then they put the chains on him. Then they're telling him how bad he is for 5 years, how bad, how bad, how bad. And we don't even know. We don't even know because they haven't put the trial out. See, this is the thing. They say, oh, he's been found guilty. Well, what kind of will and deal and seal was that? We've never seen the forensics. Where is the forensics on the bullets? Where's the forensics on the victims? Where the shots came from and everything like that? Where is the forensics? Just that one. Because let me tell you, Patrick Crucius, when he surrendered himself, he didn't have any bit of blood on him. It didn't look like it. He looked very, very clean. His shoes were clean. His pants were clean. His shirt was clean. They didn't even bag his hands. They didn't even bag his hands. And I don't even know if I'm allowed to really express that. And so, okay, so we know this. We know this about this case. Well, this case is Richard's case. Where are Richard's whistleblower complaints? What is the evidence that happened? We know that there were audits. We know that they were all over the barracks because of Halliday. We know that. We know that he was whistleblowing. We have the hard evidence for it. And yet they were tampering. We know hard evidence that they were tampering with his files. They were tampering. They were tampering to try. They couldn't succeed because they can't get it all. It's like they can't get it all with the Walmart case. A lot of people are involved. A lot of people are involved with Richard's case. Those two cases are totally connected because it's the same El Paso cartel. You know, that's what I call them. I call them the El Paso cartel. That's not something that the FBI calls them, okay? Because, FBI Jesus Nieto is not going to call out what he is connected to because he's absolutely a dirty FBI agent. Just like Tavita Nusa is a dirty CID agent. Just like Marlon Soto is a dirty CID agent. I you know, so I've called them I call them now the El Paso cartel because that makes sense because when you define cartel, it's this criminal network that's dealing with trafficking, criminal trafficking, narcotics trafficking, human trafficking, um, weapons trafficking, ammunition trafficking, money laundering, tampering with documents, tampering with uh, aircraft numbers, tampering with pilot names on, tampering with manifestos, tampering with manifests for the planes, tampering with, um, evidence, tampering with all kinds of evidence, right? Bank records, phones, computers. Richard had a computer. Richard had a phone. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where's his car? Where's his car? They've lied to us about so many things because they intentionally interfered with our son's cases, his whistleblowing cases, and the murder case and the cover up. They absolutely tried everything to discredit him. And even I believe, we're getting information back that they were ordering him to do an evaluation, a mental health evaluation. And, but they don't do a mental health evaluation on Patrick Crucius. So they were really reaching to tamper, to discredit, um, and that is their MO. That is Bill Hicks's MO. That is Sam Medrano's MO. Well, in a different way. That is Joe Spencer's MO. That is John Briggs' absolutely MO. And we have all that hard evidence now that absolutely from them. And that is Leilani Hart's MO. And please understand that Tavita Nusa and Leilani Hart know John Briggs. They know Joe Spencer. They know, look, Jaime Esparza and Judge Sam Medrano are good friends. And he allowed him for almost 2 years to stay on the case because their intention always, and we have hard evidence of this, was to delay and have an open checkbook to pay for their delays because it was to keep a case going forward that would expose the El Paso cartel. And they did that with Richard's case and many other cases. And Richard absolutely feared for his life. You see it in the videos, you see it in his communications with us. Um, he feared for his life. So that is that part of it. The amazing part of all of this is President Trump won the election. And this uh can I call it a Washington D.C. cartel? I don't know. I don't know. Let's not call them a cartel. Let's call that. I don't know if that's suitable. Maybe it is. I don't know. But you know that they're criminal, and you see that with they just feel that they absolutely can extort us with all of this funding and everything like that. Um, and they'll say, "Oh, we want it for the farmers or whatever," and then they'll say, "Oh, we have to have distributors for the farmer money. Oh, but we have to pay the distributors, and then we have to pay the distributors to help. We have to pay this, and then out of the dollar, the farmer will get a dime." I mean, this is how they play their dirty games. Delay, delay, delay. And to extort and cheat and fraud, waste, and abuse. Fraud, waste, and abuse. And I was really hoping, and I don't know what happened today because I was doing some other things, but um, I'm hoping they shut down the government. They've done it before. They've done it before. Oh well, shut it down until we can decide on what the new administration wants to do. And there's and because what's a couple weeks, right? What's a couple weeks? It's nothing. Anyway, but we have really good news from the new administration. Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Pete Hegseth, um, Tom Holman, um, Ron Johnson, and of course Donald Trump, and there's others that absolutely um, they have enough. They have enough to. I just think this is the story of the El Paso cartel's fall. Finally, you've got them named. Finally, I named them, and then all of a sudden, this is the story of their fall. The cartel in El Paso's fall. They are absolutely exposed by their own evidence, and it's imminent. It's imminent. And that's really good news for those in El Paso. I put out a warning for those in El Paso. Until then, you've got a couple weeks. Um, but, El Paso is an epicenter. They might, it is the epicenter for this criminal trafficking, for this attack on everything that is Americana. And, go back and look at old pictures of El Paso. It was totally Americana. And they just want to give us a false narrative. Um, El Paso, I know, living there, growing up there, it was very diverse. We had a big German population. We had a big Spanish population. We had you know, people from all over because it was military, and it was also um, a huge part of the whole rocketeering. Um, and then you had just the crossroads of El Paso into Juarez, and just it's just such an amazing ancient city. Um, and they, of course, they wanted it. I don't blame them that they wanted it, but they wanted it to do harm, and they wanted it to do it illegally, and they wanted it for all the wrong reasons, and so that's not okay. You know, that's not okay. And um, when Richard, it was, and this is another thing that I have to say over and over again, and I haven't, is that it wasn't Richard's whistleblowing that got him murdered. It was the actions of those like Judge Medrano and Bill Hicks and Joe Spencer and John Briggs. It was their red flags to any criminal. You see, this is what John Briggs is really guilty of. 100% he's guilty of this. Is putting up red flags for criminals, um, to say you can murder a whistleblower and we will do nothing. We will delay. We will delay. We will delay until it fades away. And so to put up red flags, or green flags, I should say green flags. That's sorry. He put up green flags to give them the go ahead, that they can commit these crimes of whistleblowers, because he had those that he was protecting that are involved in these activities. And so he put up the green flags to say, yes, you can do these things. And my job is to do nothing, to delay, and might tamper. I might have to tamper. I mean, look at Bill Hicks. He is the tamperer. He tampered with the 59 migrant cases, right? He tampered with them. He tampered with his timestamp. He is the tamperer. And there's other things that he tampered with, his documents. So his cases, many cases, he tampered with. So when you have a green flag to tamper, a green flag to murder, a green flag to carry out crime against, you know, those that um, don't want to live where the El Paso cartel is in control, then yeah, that's a crime. That's a crime. So, and we have that evidence, and more evidence has been coming in, and every day, the closer that we get to Christmas, the closer that we get to January 20th, people are coming forward with their evidence, you know. So we really appreciate the open records. We really appreciate the people that have kept their own records and are helping us. We appreciate our own records that we go back and look at and review. And of course, the media records. There's just so much evidence because um, they've exposed themselves because of all the harm that they've done. And that means they've had to do a lot of covering up, and with every cover up, they expose themselves. So thank you so much. God bless you, and I hope you're getting ready for Christmas. And I'm really, really sad about this happening in Magdeburg. Really, it's it's just unthinkable. Y- Especially when you've lived in Germany for most of your life. Most of my life, I've lived in Germany, and when I was a young girl, there was like zero crime, like zero crime. You could leave your baby in the baby wagon out. They have these shopping zones, um, and this, it's outdoor. It's kind of like a mall, but outdoor mall shopping center. And you could leave your baby outside the store. You could go in the store briefly, like a bakery or a butcher or flower shop, and you can pick up what you needed. You didn't have to bring your baby in there. You could leave your baby outside, go in there. Never think twice about it. Never think twice. It's a beautiful world when you are law abiding, and when you have um, the law enforcers actually enforcing the law, and the judicial system actually doing the oversight. It's a beautiful world. And so our laws are beautiful, and it wasn't Richard whistleblowing that got him murdered. It was criminals that did it. Criminals that did it. And, I've heard a lot of people say, oh gosh, he's a whistleblower. Yeah, that's what got him killed. No, that's not what got him killed. No, it was criminals. So thank you, everyone. And he's a hero. And I had this dream, like a dream of this huge, beautiful fountain right in the middle of El Paso, with this gold angel blowing a horn. This gold angel blowing a horn, I guess because it was kind of like set in my mind through this gift I just received. Um, but this big fountain with this beautiful gold angel blowing the horn, and on the fountain base was in memory of Richard Carroll Halliday. It's just right in the middle of El Paso. Should we have a big fountain? And why was it a fountain? Why was it a fountain? Water has memory. Water has memory. They've proved it. It's all very scientific and everything like that. It's really amazing. You can watch the guy from Japan. He's just really amazing. Water has memory, and water is it? It's the element for baptism of renewal into God's kingdom. It's the entry into God's kingdom. I don't know. I don't know why it was a fountain. I don't know why it was this beautiful, huge fountain with all this water and this beautiful gold angel blowing the horn. I don't know. If you if you know some symbols in there, if you have some input, please let me know. Thank you so much. God bless you. It's kind of like those mustard seeds, right? The mustard seeds. Anyway, thank you so much. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.